Are you ready for the arm?
Yes.
All right, the deltoid muscle again is a good starting point. When we look at the deltoid muscle, oftentimes it pooches down. You could actually take a little air, if you look at it kind of like an arrow, it's going to be pointing to one of the smaller muscles of the upper arm. So let's do our upper arm muscles first. The biceps brachii, the brachialis, to which the deltoid muscle is pointing. So deltoid, follow it down, you'll find the brachialis muscle. But we also can see that the brachialis is deep to the biceps brachii muscle. And so you actually see it on either side, I think. Brachialis here and here. And then the last major muscle of the upper arm is the triceps brachii, which you'll turn over and look on the posterior side to see the triceps. It is a very, very large flat muscle. All right, now way up at the shoulder, we want to look at the rotator cuff muscles. I think these ones are really important. So we're going to start with the anterior. Be careful with this. We're looking at the anterior right now. So this is the subscapularis. It's a very large muscle that takes up the subscapular fossa. I just want to point this out in a skeleton, because in a skeleton, it's going to be, this is what we usually think of as the scapula. The subscapularis is actually like in there. It's really hard to see in an articulated skeleton. So this is not a perspective of the scapula that you're used to looking at. So that's the anterior. All right, if we turn it over and see the posterior, I would like you to start by identifying the spine of the scapula. That's always a good starting point. Above the spine, we have the supraspinatus. Below the spine, we have the infraspinatus, which is quite a large muscle. Below the supraspinatus, we have the teres minor. Now, the teres minor is not actually labeled in your lab book, but since it's part of the rotator cuff series, I think you should really know it. And then we have the teres major down below, which ironically is labeled. Now, the teres major, again, is not part of the rotator cuff series. I want to repeat these muscles, actually. So the teres major down below, that one is labeled in your lab book, but it's not part of the rotator cuff. Look up a little bit, you'll see the teres minor. That's part of the rotator cuff. Infraspinatus. Yes, rotator cuff. Supraspinatus, also rotator cuff. And then if we turn it over and look at the posterior side, the subscapularis is part of the rotator cuff muscles.